corporate governance, and I can't stress this enough, is really the bedrock of my whole approach to investment. And it's really about, when we invest in a company, are we happy, are we certain that we understand the governance principles of a business and the ownership culture that a management team has when it comes to managing their company? And I think there's a few key areas that I look at when I consider governance. It's not an exhaustive list, but there's a few key areas. The first is the ownership structure of the business. So when we invest in a company, who are we investing alongside? What do they want from the business? And the answer to that question will go a long way to determining how a company allocates capital, the rate at which a company is able to grow, the rate at which a company is able to sustain dividend payments, and ultimately what the valuation, what the intrinsic value of that business really is. And so ownership is one of the key questions I have, and it's really the honesty to acknowledge that we shouldn't be surprised that government-owned entities are not necessarily profit-maximising organisations, or that companies in an emerging market country where there's a single currency risk and you've built the business over 3 or 4 family generations, they may now have very different diversification requirements to what I have as a global investor, that can drive capital allocation decisions which seem suboptimal from my point of view but are perfectly rational from their perspective. And you have to understand that when you're investing in a company, because as I said, that's really what determines how capital gets allocated. The other key areas that I focus on are the shareholder structure, which are nuanced from ownership. This is really speaking to dual share classes within emerging markets. I'm very reticent to invest in non-voting shares. I think when a company issues equity, it does so because it wants to grow its business, take it overseas and raise capital to grow its business. The cost of doing that is that you have to give up some control. And if you're not prepared to do that, then it may suggest ulterior motives that you have, or it suggests the view that you have towards minorities is less favourable than it would be towards a major shareholder. And I, as a minority shareholder, just want to be treated equally to the major shareholders in a business, so I always look to be aligned with them. And the final element is management compensation. And I make this point within the organisation, within Fidelity, and speaking to our analysts all the time, that the whole approach to investment and analysis and everything that we do is actually largely theoretical. Whilst we have fantastic resources and we go out and we meet companies and we construct investment theses of businesses, and we have a very firm picture as to how a company can evolve over a 3 to 5 year time horizon, that will only happen if a management team is incentivized to put that into place. And so I go a long way to understanding how management teams are incentivized, not just financially, but what is the level of ownership culture within a business that ensures that they allocate capital prudently and treat our capital with the respect that ultimately it deserves.